Hi, everybody. I am Jessica Koch, and this is Profound Professionals. We are super excited to have you. Profound Professionals, it has been doing interviews for several years now. We've been having the honor of featuring amazing individuals from all over the world who are doing unique things to stand out in their industry, but who are also amazing because beyond themselves, they are supporting the world in a way that really makes an impact. So today I am super happy to have Dr. Mort Orman, and he is an internal medicine physician with over 40 years of success in helping people eliminate anger and stress without traditional management techniques. So I love that. Everybody has stress, and I'm the Italian mother of seven, lots of children. And so I've had my moments of frustration, I would say. I won't call it anger, but I love that you're doing this. So welcome, Dr. Mort.
Well, thank you, Jessica. Thank you for having me.
This is my pleasure. Can you share with us how you started down this direction? What sparked your passion for this topic?
It was self-preservation because even before I went to medical school in high school and college, I had a lot of social anxiety and stress and stuff like that. But when I went into medical school, it got really bad. I used to have a tremendous fear of public speaking. I had a lot of anger issues, a lot of relationship issues. And when I got into, and then I opened my own internal medicine practice. So then I had all the stresses of running a business that they don't teach you how to do in medical school. And so I was experiencing a lot of stress myself and anger issues. And then I was seeing my patients, and they were telling me about all the stuff going on in their life and all the stress they were experiencing. And I was watching the stress just really cause lots of problems for them in their life, and the illnesses that it can cause, and the disruptions of the marriages and businesses, and conflicts with kids, and just all kinds of nasty stuff. And I'm watching this happening in my patients, and I'm realizing I'm just as stressed as they are, although I can't let them know that.
Right? We have to be perfect when we're the business owner.
You have to look like you have it all together. But I'm watching all this, and I'm thinking, this train is coming for me.
That's right.
So I better figure out how to get rid of this anger and get rid of this stress. And it was frustrating because no matter what I tried to do, it didn't help. I tried all the traditional stress management stuff and anger management stuff, and it just didn't make any long-term difference. And so I made a decision that turned out to be a really good decision that a lot of doctors don't make, or other busy people, is I decided to do some personal development work, invest some time and money in personal development work. And I started discovering all this stuff that I was never taught in medical school about human beings. They teach you about hearts and lungs and kidneys and things like that in medical school, but they don't teach you about the people.
Amen.
Who have those organs. So and they throw you out there and say, go, take care of these folks. And they're sharing all their, personal problems and family problems and stuff. And, as a physician, I'm going like, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know how to help them. I mean, I can listen and be sympathetic, which helps. But, and again, I was struggling with my own stuff myself. So I knew I needed for myself to expand my horizons, expand my understandings. And I started to figure out that a lot of things I believe were true about a lot of stuff in life and about being human turned out not to be true.
Mythbusters.
Yes. And it was very eye-opening. And then it led me to question a lot of the things that were being taught about anger and stress. And to make me say to myself, well, what if a lot of that stuff is wrong? I mean, what's really correct, or what's really helpful? And I spent another couple years exploring that question. Eventually, I got to some answers that changed my life dramatically and enabled me to stop being an angry person, completely cure my public speaking fear. I mean, I could never do this. This would have been absolutely horrifying for me to do back when I was in my 20s and 30s. And stop having relationship failures with women, which I had a 100% rate of failure. My wife
Same
and I
common denominator, right? Though
it took me a while to figure that out. every time a relationship would fail, I would figure out what was wrong with the woman. Then I
That's right.
make sure I wouldn't pick a woman like with those characteristics again. And then after about the 10th time, I kind of dawned on me. I was a little slow at that time. It
So you
dawned on
caught
me
on quick.
I might want to look over here. But it
I
was a
love
good.
that.
But once I did that, once I said, well, I better figure out, the crazy ideas I have about relationships,
Mhm.
um, that I think aren't so crazy, but probably are. And then I did that, and I did some work, studied with some people who knew some relationship stuff, and eventually I figured out a lot of the crazy things that I was doing that I thought were good things that helped, but they weren't. They were terrible actually, but I didn't see it at the time. And then I turned that around, and my wife and I just celebrated our 38th wedding anniversary in June.
Aw, congratulations.
I was able to make these major, for me, miraculous life changes by using the same approach that I discovered for anger.
Mm.
And it works. And I've been, for the last 40 years, I've had very little anger or stress in my life, despite being very busy and very productive. People don't believe that's possible, but it
Mm.
is. And I've been teaching other folks, what I've learned, and it's very satisfying to take people who've been struggling with issues for years, whether it's anger or some other stress issue, and be able to turn them around fairly quickly, and they're just thrilled. And just like me, a lot of them felt like, I didn't ever think that could happen. I never, like, for me, I never thought I would stop being an angry person. I was so angry and so easily provoked that I just assumed that was always going to be like that for the rest of my life. And to come through the other side and to just stop getting angry, it's like I could have never predicted that would happen. You know, in fact, a couple months ago, I had somebody ask me if I could I give them some idea of what it was like when I was really angry. Could I act it out? Could I, display the anger? I couldn't do it. It was so it's so gone from my experience. I could describe it, but I couldn't get in the emotion because I just haven't.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody needs, a life like that. Life is too short
Yeah.
to allow us ourselves to be consumed with anger. And anger only hurts us. It doesn't hurt anything or situation or person that you're angry at. It only injures the person angry.
Well,
So,
it actually does more than that because you said you have 7 kids. I
mhm,
mean, when you're an angry parent or an angry husband or wife, you can damage your relationship,
yeah,
end up divorced. You can damage your kids. You can,
yeah,
because they'll model that
that's true.
you're not really modeling emotional health. You're modeling the opposite in your
That's
kids.
true.
Not only that, but kids have a tendency, when we blow up and get angry at our kids when they're young, they have a tendency to feel like it was their fault, even though
Mhm.
obviously it was our stuff that was going on.
Yeah, that's very true. But I still think the biggest victim in an anger situation is the person angry.
Yeah.
I do agree with you. Other people are affected, but really you're hurting
Yeah, yeah, it
yourself.
definitely damages us. I mean, it
Yeah, for
causes
sure.
all kinds of problems. And like I say, it can cost us our job, our career,
Yeah,
money. I mean, you can get in, you haul off and hit somebody out of anger, or, you be in big legal jeopardy and cause, a lot
sure.
of legal expenses. So, I mean, there's tremendous, not, and as a doctor, I'm aware of all the health consequences of stress and particularly anger, in terms of high blood pressure, heart disease, strokes, nasty stuff.
So if someone wanted to work with you, would they work in person with you? Would they work virtually with you? Would they work one-on-one? Would they work in a group? What are the different ways to work with you?
Yeah, well, I have a program that helps people really turn their anger issues around and really get rid of them. So it's not managing anger, which really is just managing the symptoms. It's
Mm.
not punching a punching bag or counting to 10 or taking deep breaths or any of that, just symptom stuff. It's really, let's get at the causes of why you're getting angry and what's
Mhm.
going on inside. What are the internal drivers of anger? And mostly we haven't been educated about that.
Mhm.
And so we're blind to specifically how we're thinking and how we're behaving in such ways to produce anger. So I teach people how to identify that. And then I teach them how to use that model to just make their anger go away whenever they want. And the more they practice that, and they do it over time, then after a while, they just aren't reacting angrily to the same things that used to trigger them.
Mhm.
because they're seeing things differently, understanding things differently, and now they're just not. It just doesn't provoke them anymore. So it's
Perspective.
yes, it's a lot of perspective change, but it's it takes time to develop it, but you can learn the system that I put together in a short time. So I have a 10 session program where I can completely train people on how to use the system, and then once they learn it, they have it for the rest of their life to use and
So
benefit from.
so
So I do it
10.
one on one. I do it one on one. I can also do it in a group if there's enough people at the same time
Mhm.
that want to do it. It lends itself to either of those formats, but it's definitely interaction with me, sharing, explaining the system, teaching people how to use it, and then taking them through multiple examples. Like, tell me a time you were angry in the last week, or tell me a time you were angry 10 years ago, whatever it is.
Mhm.
We work it through the system, and they get to see what the causes were. And then we look at those causes, and they get to say, well, that's not true. Or that was an exaggeration, or that was an unrealistic expectation, or that was something that automatically got triggered in the back of my mind. And when I look at it now, it's like, yeah, that's probably not the way it happened, or not why somebody did what they did, or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
So the program in one-on-one or in a
No,
group, is that in person or virtually or both?
I can
Or
do both. I've done it both, but virtual now we can do it virtually, very simply, just like you and I are
okay.
talking, just like you and I are talking now. I would say to you, tell me a time when you were angry, and then we'd work through it after I've taught you the system and everything, and
Mhm.
we'd work through it, and you get to practice, and you get to see, yeah, this makes sense. It works. You
So
know,
with your expertise, without giving away your secret sauce and not having them come through your program, but what's one thing someone who's struggling with this can do today to make their lives less stressful and more productive? Can you give them a tip?
Yeah, well, I think about anger, I think the main thing people need to understand is there are a lot of myths and misconceptions out there
Mhm.
about anger that keep people. My voice just my voice just went away. That keep people stuck with
Mhm.
their anger when they really could get rid of it.
Mhm.
And so like, or for example, people think, like I did many years ago, if you frequently get angry, you think, well, I'm always going to be that way. That's just part of my makeup.
I
That's
see.
just my personality. It's like something that's fixed,
Mhm.
and it's not. It may. The truth is, many people go through their entire lives remaining an angry person,
Yes.
but it doesn't. They don't have to. I mean, if they had the right way of looking at it and the right system for understanding it, they could turn that around, very quickly. But so it's a myth that that's just the way that's just the way I am. It's not
Right.
just, you could be different. Like, again, I went from being very, very angry and volatile to nothing, almost nothing. So that's one myth. Another myth is people believe there's only two ways to deal with anger. We've been told this. We've been told you can either express it or suppress it.
Oh,
And we know that suppressing anger isn't good for us.
no.
It can lead to illness and just makes you crazy. And expressing anger isn't that great either. It causes other people to have reactions that aren't always in the right direction we want it to go. So, but people don't understand there's a third option, which is what I teach people how to do is you just make your anger disappear whenever you want, and if you want to be angry, like you're dealing with a customer service person and you got badly treated in a interaction, commercial interaction, and you want to use a little anger to make something happen, you can do that. But when you're angry and you don't want to be, you know how to step in and just get rid of it, dissolve it, make it go away. And again, there's no punching bag. You don't have to run 5 miles.
Poor customer service people. They get a rough they get
It's
a
funny.
rough.
I've been asked to do some workshops for customer service reps to help them understand why these people are getting so angry with them and how they don't get angry in return in
Mhm.
response. But it's again, they're teaching the same model. So because it's interesting when we learn this model and we understand deeply what makes us angry, it's the same for all human beings in
Mhm.
a generic sense. Okay. And so the more you learn about your own anger, the more you have empathy for and more understanding you have for why other people are getting angry. And you actually know in a generic sort of way how they're thinking when they're angry. You don't know exactly what they're thinking,
Sure.
You can't read their mind, but if they're angry, their thinking is in a certain structure, or
Hmm.
you can't get angry if you're not thinking that way. Okay.
Right.
So it's helpful for customer service people to have this training,
Absolutely.
because then they don't get so bent out of shape, when they're interacting with people and some of whom are intentionally revving up the anger to get what they want. And
Of
then,
course.
and sometimes some they just fly off the handle. So
Right.
whether they're intentional or not. So that's the second big myth. And then the third big myth is that only the people who have real big blow-ups, really horrible anger blow-up, they're the only people that need to do something like this, learn how to deal with their anger.
Oh, right.
And the truth is, we all could benefit from this, because the
Mhm.
little things that annoy us every day, that make us upset or pissed off or resentful, every day they build up, they eat away at our organs, so little by little, we don't notice it, but little by little, it causes problems. Um, and most people don't know that they can stop doing that. They can stop having those cumulative little things, and those can destroy a marriage
Yeah,
over time.
of course.
They can alienate your kids over time and have them
Mhm.
not want to spend time with you or talk to you or stuff like that. I remember years ago, my wife is a veterinarian, and she had a conference at the Grand Canyon, and so I tagged along because I'd never been to the Grand Canyon, but I had seen lots of pictures of the Grand Canyon, and I even went to an IMAX, where you get these beautiful images. And so I said, I've seen the Grand Canyon before. It's no big deal.
A big
And
hole.
yeah, and so I got out there, and you go up to the edge. You literally there's no railing or anything. You literally can just fall in. Okay, but so I went up to the edge and I looked in, and I could not believe I had this like powerful emotional reaction that hit me like a ton of bricks. And it just caught me by surprise. Like, I wasn't expecting anything. And it was so shocking that it made me think, like, why the hell did that happen? Why did I have that reaction? And I realized a little bit later, I said, there was two things I realized. I realized I was in the presence of an enormous period of time that had elapsed, like millions of years. And
Mhm.
it's not a concept. It just hits you that it took millions of years for that whole to get developed. And then the other thing that hit me like viscerally, emotionally, was think of all the destruction that's going on little by little, day by day,
Mhm.
tiny little increments. The ground used to be all the way up here, and now it's like a mile and a half down there. And it just got eroded little by little every day, imperceptibly. And I said, my God, as a physician, I said, my God, that's what's happening to my patients. I see them over time. Their bodies are getting eroded. Their health is getting eroded little by little every day. They don't see it. They don't notice it. They don't realize it's a really destructive force.
Yeah.
And it is. And so that was it was a shocker, but it was like, wow, that's basically what stress does to people.
That's exactly right. Is there anything else you want to share about your business or working with you before we start talking about your amazing cause?
Well, I have. I gave you a link for an free anger PDF that I made for you, called "The Best Anger Elimination Method You Can Find." And do you want me to give that URL, or is it going to be
We'll
a
make sure
download?
that we'll make sure we share that in the comments of this post and in
Okay,
the
great.
article that we put it and other places that we feature this later. It'll be in the description and connected to it so that people can grab and take advantage of your
Good.
free gift.
Yeah, that'll help give them more detail on what I do. And I guess the thing I would leave everybody with is, again, another misconception or myth is that a lot of people say, well, I've tried to control my anger in the past and it doesn't, nothing works.
Mm.
And again, I had that same experience for years.
Mm.
And yeah, if you keep doing the same stuff, it doesn't work. it's,
Do
it's
something else.
it's going to look like nothing is going to work. But if you take a completely different approach, like I teach,
Mhm.
you'd be surprised that even after years and years of failing to control your anger and just keep reacting and reacting and not being able to control it or stop it, you can actually take control of your anger and make it go away.
So,
A lot of people don't believe it, but it's true.
so everybody could use this. So yourself, and if you know someone and love someone in your life who's struggling with this, have them reach out to and contact Dr. Mort. Now, you're going to share with us, because one of the things I say that makes people profound is looking outside of themselves and beyond. What you do is profound to begin with, helping people improve their lives within your business. But beyond your business, you have a cause. You want to share that with us?
Yeah, I started a nonprofit organization back in 1982, and it's called the Health Resource Network. And its mission is to help people understand and go beyond a lot of the myths and misconceptions that are out there about stress and about anger. So every year, every April, um, we celebrate. Actually, we sponsor National Stress Awareness Month in the U.S. every April since 1992. Okay. So the last 30 some years we've been doing that. And that's an open invitation for anybody who has anything to do with helping people with stress to promote whatever they want to promote, to reduce stress for people. So it's nothing structured. They don't have to follow anything. It's a month where they can celebrate and educate. And we use it as an opportunity to talk about a lot of the myths and misconceptions about both anger and stress. But people can, and all kinds of people put out all kinds of information. We don't control any of it. We just make it available, make the month available. And they go do it, whatever they think is going to help people.
Is it in a centralized location?
No, each entity or organization or individual, just if they have something to contribute that they think would help people understand stress better or deal with it better, then that's what that month is for. Okay. It's not.
I love that.
It's very open-ended, you can be as creative as you want to be and, innovative as you want to be, or do traditional stuff if you want to. Like I say, we tend to focus on the myths and the misconceptions. That doesn't mean everybody, that everybody has to do that.
I'm a big, our company provides, we have a virtual assistant membership program. And so one of the ways I think you relieve stress as a business owner, and even as a person with a family and trying to have work-life balance, really outsourcing as many projects as you can in your life is I'm a big believer in that, because it allows you to live a life of joy with less stress, still get much more done than you could on your own. So yeah.
And as you know, a lot of people who could do that and benefit from it have psychological barriers that keep them from doing that.
Letting go. That's a control issue. I don't know if it's in line with anger, but
it's right in there. Yeah, those are the kind of things that we explore. How we are contributing to our stress by either doing things that bring us stress or not doing things that could relieve our stress that we have.
Right.
That we could easily do. We're just, we've been conditioned, to not want to do it for some strange reason. A lot of time the reasons aren't really good reasons, but they hold us back.
I am a super lover of books. And so I always ask our guest when there's time, if there's been a book that has inspired you for your life or help your business grow, or if you're an author of a book, I ask you to share too, both the book you've authored as well as another book that inspired you. So do you have a book for us, Dr. Mort?
Oh, I have two books. I've written a lot of books on stress and anger relief, 23 plus. But one that's kind of short but really good is called The Ultimate Method for Dealing with Stress. And you can download that for free. It's for sale on Amazon, but if people want to download it for free, they can go to truthaboutstress.com. And they can do that. And the book that one of the books that opened my eyes about emotions in general was a relatively recent book. It's called How Emotions Are Made by Lisa Feldman Barrett. She's a neurophysiology researcher in Boston. And what she does is she reveals that even the experts in the field of emotions and brain science about how emotions occur, they've got it all wrong. And there's a lot of these beliefs that we have about, even scientists have, about how emotions work. And this book, she's like the Einstein of emotions. I mean, she reveals how a lot of this, like Einstein did when he revealed that most of the physicists of his age didn't really understand, matter and energy and all that stuff like he did. She spells out exactly why the beliefs that are very prevalent in the scientific community are not valid. And she has evidence from her labs and from research she's done to support all that. And it gives you a whole different picture of emotions in human beings and how they occur, which is different from how they occur in animals.
Mhm.
So that it looks the same, but they're very different. The construction and the process is very different. So it's a very eye-opening book. I got a lot of value out of it. And I think anybody that reads it will have a new understanding of human emotions. So,
I totally love that.
yeah.
And this has been really awesome to have you, Dr. Mort. You have a really fascinating information, very helpful. I've just enjoyed this so much. So, if you're watching and you've enjoyed it, we are really grateful that you share this because you never know who you might, if you put this out and share, who might scroll across it and it really impacted and helped them in a time of need. You just never know what's going on with someone or who can be touched, which is one of the things I love about the internet and featuring people and live streaming on so many platforms is because we just will never know who needs to really hear what we're sharing today. So thank you for sharing it. I'm your host, Jessica Koch with Profound Professionals. And if you are a profound professional or you know someone who can help inspire someone to improve their life in general or help grow their business or help in any way, and they should be featured here, please introduce us to them, be their hero and ours, and let's get them on the show. And if that's you, reach out to us. Now, before we say goodbye, Dr. Mort, I always like our guests to share one last sprinkle of magic before we go. So do you have one last thing for us?
Yeah, I have one little tidbit about stress, and that is people would be much better off in the world today if they eliminated the word stress from their vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
Because stress really, that's all it is. It's really just a concept, it's just a word. We think it's like a disease or a condition, and there is a stress response. But when we say we're stressed, what it really means is we're having problems in life.
Mm-hmm.
It's the problems that we want to be relieved of, not this mythical entity called stress. So if you just get rid of the word stress and substitute the word problems, then instead of saying I'm stressed, you'll say, oh, I'm having problems. And that'll force you to say, oh, well, what the hell problems am I having? Let's get specific about them. And let me see if I can deal with them and get at the root causes of those problems. Like anger can be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's in part of the stress umbrella. There's anger and all the other emotions and relationship and financial stuff and health stuff and all.
Mm-hmm.
They're all specific problems that we may have in life. So if you just get rid of that word stress, you'll be ahead of most other people in terms of focusing on what's really going on.
I tell you what, I about 7 years ago, I got rid of the word overwhelm. I don't use it anymore. I don't say, "Oh, I'm feeling," the O word. I don't use it. Even when I feel the feeling inside me, I have a meditation that I use to just really see it more as how do I need to expand my resources so that all these things can come to be. And I love your suggestion of getting rid of the word stress and changing it to problems. However, I don't use the word problems either. I use puzzles because puzzles can be positive, right? Puzzles can be fun. Puzzles can be interesting and enjoyable even. And all of the things that you have that you label a problem, you could also label a puzzle.
Mhm.
And for me, it's exciting. It's an exciting challenge to solve a puzzle and find what I need to make whatever I need to work.
I actually use that metaphor because it's when we're trying to solve a problem like anger, for example,
Mhm,
it's like we're trying to put together this complicated puzzle and we're missing half the
mhm.
puzzle pieces.
Yeah,
We're just looking at other people, what they're doing and how they're affecting. We're not looking inside. 50% of the puzzle pieces are in here,
yeah,
and we're missing them. And
yeah.
it's hard to put the puzzle together if you don't have that. But once
All
you have them, it's
hmm
like the puzzle just comes in the clear view, and you say, "Oh, that's what's going on. I didn't realize. Oh,
Yeah,
now I can see what's going to happen. I can do something about it."
Yeah, so that's what I've done, and it's totally worked for me. So I
Yeah.
love that last suggestion. And again, it has been a joy to have you, Dr. Mort. I hope you guys will reach out to him and introduce people to him, because I know you know someone in your life, and probably it could be you too, because this is not just for someone who's super angry. It can help everyone. So don't forget that. And it's been a pleasure. And thank you again for everyone watching and sharing. I am Jessica Koch, your host of Profound Professionals. And until next time, I hope you're doing everything you can to make a global impact on the world. Be kind to yourself and be kind to each other. And we'll see you at the next Profound Professionals. Bye, everybody.